Please respect your parents now. Go, let's start video. The city lights of Chicago blurred past Daniel Harper's taxi window, a kaleidoscope of neon and ambition that mirrored the restlessness in his heart. At 42, Daniel was a man who measured success in boardroom victories and stock market ticks, his life a tightly wound clock of meetings and deadlines. Tonight, though, he felt an unfamiliar tug, a promise to his mother, Eleanor, who lay in a hospital bed 2 states away, her frail hands clutching memories of simpler days. "Record something beautiful for me, Danny," she'd whispered during their last call, her voice thin but warm. "Something that reminds me of love." He'd agreed, though he hadn't a clue where to find such a thing in a world he'd long reduced to numbers and deals. As the taxi slowed near a community center, a faded poster caught his eye. "St. Mary's Orphanage Winter Concert, free admission." On a whim, he told the driver to stop. Maybe this was it, something beautiful, something for Mom. Inside, the community center was a far cry from the polished venues Daniel frequented. The air smelled of old wood and coffee, and the auditorium buzzed with the chatter of locals, families, retirees, and kids in mismatched coats. On stage, a group of children, ages 6 to 16, fidgeted in hand-me-down clothes, their faces a mix of nerves and excitement. Daniel slipped into a back row, his tailored suit out of place among the crowd's jeans and sweaters. He pulled out his phone, hit record, and leaned back, expecting a quaint, if amateur, performance. What he didn't expect was the way the first note, a single, clear voice singing, "Silent Night," would pierce the noise in his head, silencing the ticker tape of his thoughts. The girl singing was no older than 12, her braids tied with a red ribbon, her eyes fixed on some distant point as if she could see the stars through the ceiling. Her voice wasn't perfect, but it carried a raw, unshakable hope that made Daniel's chest tighten. One by one, the other children joined in, their voices weaving a tapestry of sound that felt bigger than the room. A boy with glasses strummed a guitar, his fingers clumsy but determined. A tiny girl in a too-big dress banged a tambourine with gleeful abandon. The music wasn't polished, but it was alive, each note a defiance of the hardships these kids had known. Daniel glanced at his phone, the recording timer ticking, and realized he was no longer just capturing this for his mother. He was feeling it too. As the concert continued, Daniel's eyes wandered to the side of the stage, where a woman in her 50s, with gray-streaked hair and a worn cardigan, conducted the children with gentle gestures. She smiled at them, her face radiating a pride that seemed to hold the group together. Between songs, she whispered encouragement, adjusting a microphone for a nervous boy or squeezing a girl's shoulder. Daniel overheard a woman in the row ahead whisper to her friend, "That's Sister Clara. She's raised half these kids since they were babies." The friend nodded. "She's a saint. Keeps the orphanage going on prayers and pocket change." Daniel's mind, ever the analyst, calculated the odds: an underfunded orphanage, a volunteer nun, a group of kids with no families. Yet here they were, singing their hearts out, filling the room with light. The concert's midpoint brought an unexpected turn. Sister Clara stepped to the microphone, her voice soft but steady. "Before our next song, we want to share a story," she said. "This is from Lila, our lead singer tonight." The girl with the red ribbon stepped forward, clutching a crumpled piece of paper. Lila's voice trembled as she spoke. 2 years ago, I didn't think I'd ever be happy again. My mom, she passed away, and I came to St. Mary's with nothing but a backpack. But Sister Clara gave me a home. And these kids, they're my family now. This song is for all the people who've ever felt alone, because you're not. Not really." The crowd murmured, some wiping tears, and Daniel felt a lump in his throat. Lila's words weren't just a story, they were a mirror, reflecting a loneliness he'd buried beneath his corner office and expense accounts. The children launched into, "You Are My Sunshine," Lila's voice leading the way. Daniel's phone shook slightly in his hand, his grip unsteady. He thought of his own childhood, of his mother singing that same song while she stirred soup in their tiny kitchen, back when life was small but enough. He hadn't realized how much he missed that simplicity until now, watching these kids pour their souls into a song that cost nothing but meant everything. The audience swayed, some singing along, and for a moment, the room felt like a single heartbeat. Daniel's business instincts kicked in, unbidden. This was raw, marketable talent. He could fund a proper recording, maybe even a tour. But the thought dissolved as quickly as it came. This wasn't a product. This was a gift. The concert ended with Amazing Grace, the children's voices rising in a harmony that seemed to lift the roof. The crowd erupted in applause, and Daniel stopped recording, his phone heavy in his hand. He lingered as the audience filed out, watching Sister Clara hug each child, their laughter echoing. On impulse, he approached her, introducing himself as a businessman from out of town. "That was incredible," he said, fumbling for words. "I recorded it for my mother. She's sick, and I thought it might cheer her up." Sister Clara's eyes softened. "That's a beautiful gift, Mr. Harper. Tell her we're praying for her." Daniel nodded, then hesitated. "How do you do it? Keep this place going, I mean." Clara smiled faintly. "Faith. And a lot of help from kind strangers." She didn't ask for anything, but her words hung in the air, a quiet invitation. That night, in his hotel room, Daniel couldn't sleep. He played the recording again, the children's voices filling the sterile space. He thought of his mother, who'd raised him alone after his father left, sacrificing her dreams to give him a chance. He thought of Lila, who'd lost everything but found a new family. And he thought of himself, successful, yes, but hollow in ways he hadn't admitted until now. By morning, he'd made a decision. He wired $50,000 to St. Mary's Orphanage, enough to cover their operating costs for a year. He didn't tell Sister Clara it was from him, only that a donor had stepped forward. It wasn't charity for applause. It was a step toward filling the hole in his own heart. A week later, Daniel sat by his mother's hospital bed in Ohio, the room dim except for the glow of his laptop. Eleanor's hands, thin and veined, rested on the blanket as he played the recording. The children's voices filled the room, and her eyes, dulled by pain, began to shine. When Lila's solo in Silent Night rang out, Eleanor gasped, her breath catching. "Danny," she whispered, her voice trembling. That's my Lila." Daniel froze, confusion knotting his brow. "What do you mean, Mom?" Eleanor's gaze was distant, her blood running cold with memory. "Lila, she's my granddaughter. Your sister's girl. After your sister died, I couldn't take her in. I was too sick, too broke. She went to an orphanage in Chicago. I never knew where." The revelation hit Daniel like a freight train. His older sister, Maria, had died in a car accident 2 years ago, leaving behind a daughter he'd never met. He'd been too consumed with his career to get involved, assuming the system would handle it. Now Lila's face, her braids, her voice, flashed in his mind, and he saw it, the same stubborn chin as Maria, the same fire in her eyes. His niece. His family. Eleanor's tears fell as the recording played on. "You are my sunshine." Now a bridge across years of loss. Daniel's throat burned, his own eyes wet. He'd recorded the concert for his mother, but it had found him, too, pulling him back to the people he'd left behind. The emotional climax came the next day, when Daniel returned to Chicago. He met Sister Clara at St. Mary's, his heart pounding as he explained everything, his mother, Lila, the recording. Clara's eyes widened, then softened with understanding. She called Lila into the office, and when the girl saw Daniel, her brow furrowed. "You're the guy from the concert," she said, wary. Daniel knelt to her level, his voice thick. "Lila, I'm your uncle. Your mom was my sister. And my mom, your grandma, she's been looking for you." Lila's eyes searched his, doubt giving way to hope. When he showed her a photo of Eleanor, Lila's hand flew to her mouth, a sob escaping. "Grandma Ellie," she whispered, recognizing the face from old stories her mother had told. What followed was a reunion that stitched together broken threads. Daniel flew Lila to Ohio, where she and Eleanor clung to each other in the hospital room, laughter mixing with tears. Eleanor, frail but fierce, vowed to fight her illness for Lila's sake. Daniel, watching them, felt the weight of his old life lift. He wasn't just a businessman anymore. He was an uncle, a son, a man who'd found purpose in a single act of kindness. He moved to Chicago, taking a less demanding job to be near Lila and support St. Mary's. He funded music lessons for the kids, not for profit, but because he saw what those songs had done for him, for Lila, for his mother. The story doesn't end with a miracle cure or a fairy tale fortune. Eleanor's health remained fragile, but her days were brighter with Lila's visits. Lila found a family she thought she'd lost, her voice growing stronger with every song. And Daniel? He learned that wealth wasn't in his bank account but in the moments he shared, with Lila at the orphanage, with his mother over hospital coffee, with strangers who became friends. The recording, once a simple gift, became a testament to the power of humanity, a reminder that even in a world of hustle and loss, a single act of compassion can change everything. Years later, at another St. Mary's concert, Daniel sat in the front row, Lila's hand in his. The children sang Amazing Grace, and the room felt full, not just of sound, but of hope. Sister Clara caught his eye and smiled, as if to say, "See? This is what kindness does." Daniel looked at Lila, now a confident teenager, and thought of his mother, who'd passed but left him this gift, a family reborn. He pulled out his phone, not to record, but to take a photo, capturing the moment not for anyone else, but for himself. The world could keep its deals and deadlines. He'd found something better, something beautiful, something like love.